Welcome to episode 28 of the Tiger 700 project. You can see the body has changed another color. It is gray now. I made the decision to have a local body shop finish off the last part of the block sanding for me, to give me a nice professional job. I got it about, I would say about 95% there, but there's a lot of work left to do to get to the last 5%. But it's looking really good. I hope on the video you can see how shiny it is and how smooth it is. The body looks really, really good. So, next step is building the mold. So here's the start of the molding process. Now that I've got a completed buck of the body, I'm going to make a mold of the entire body, pull it off, and then use that mold to form the final body panels. That way I won't have all the body filler and all the weight that's underneath this surface. I can build lightweight panels. So the very first panel I'm doing, as you can see here, is the top piece. It's a portion right here. This will be a separate piece. It's going to come off. It'll have a latch system on it. But I need to pull this off so I can get at everything that's underneath the dash. That includes the reservoir for the brakes and the fuse panel, and there's a fair number of mechanicals underneath there with the steering and the pedals. So I do want to pull this off just for maintenance. So what I've done is I have started masking around it, as you can see. I have used foam board, for example, right here, to build a bridge. It's pretty sturdy. And what I've done is put that in there. I've got a little brace underneath. And I have attached to the car using hot glue. So on the foam board, just typical foam board that you would find in a hobby shop. You can see it's got the foam inside there. And what I've found that is for this purpose, it doesn't have to be really exact, but I pulled out my handy hack knife. You've heard me talk about this before during the foam phase. It works really well here. The next step in the plug preparation is to get rid of any sort of negative or concave shapes. It'll keep the mold from releasing. And to do that, I used clay. The same clay I used on my 1/8 scale model of the body. It's plastiline, which is like an oil-based clay that never dries. So you can see in here, I got a little deep. So I put a little bit right in here to ensure it doesn't capture the plug. And back here, I filled in that hard edge between the foam board that I attached and the actual surface. And you'll notice, even though I've smoothed this out, so fiberglass will lay over this without causing voids or any sort of problems there. I was also very careful to make sure that I still left an edge, so I know exactly where the edge will be when the mold comes off. Now that edge isn't very deep. I've got maybe, it's less than 1/8 of an inch, but it's just enough where it'll give me a line and I'll know where to cut it. All right? Then I went around and I put a line around the edge for where I want the flange to go. So flange all the way around, just follow the black line, you can see that. And I have applied several coats of wax to the plug itself. You can see that it is not shiny. There are two different schools on this. Some people think you need to shine it. Some people think that rubs off the wax, or it doesn't rub off all the wax, but a lot of the helpful wax. I have decided not to polish it on this one to see how it goes. But it's the same token, though, I'm making sure there aren't any clumps or any big streaks. But I want as much protection and much of a barrier there as I can get. So that's ready. And I not only waxed that, I waxed around the flange edges. Now this is masking tape, and masking tape does have a coating on it that makes it naturally release from the gel coat that's going to go down there. But for a little bit extra protection, I went ahead and waxed that as well, and actually went down probably about 4 or 5 inches below the line as well. Just give me some protection there for you know, it's kind of a sloppy process here of putting on the polymer. Excuse me, the polyester that I'll be using on this. So it'll probably drip down. That'll give me a little protection of it actually bleeding through the paper. And all the paper that I use are double thickness as well. So 2 sheets of newspaper. So if it does get into the paper, it shouldn't soak through as much and cause a problem as far as sticking on the body. The PVA has dried now. I've got a really good coverage. So one of the things I want to try here, something new, we'll see if this works, but I want to try using air, compressed air, to release the mold. So I have come up with an idea here. So here's the thought on how I would do that. This is actually just a piece of straw, cut off the end of a straw, and stuffed it about half or a quarter full of the plastiline clay. And my thinking is I can use this to attach to the body here temporarily, and then when it comes time to release the mold, I can clear out the clay, and this will create a pathway to get compressed air right in the middle of the mold. So here's how it works. You just need something to put some pressure on in the end there, because when you want to get it right down the PVA here. And I'll try to do this so you can see what I'm doing. Basically, just hold the straw and use whatever you can find to push in that clay and really get a nice contact with the clay. I guess you can see what I'm doing there. So the clay actually sticks to the PVA long enough to get some gel coat around it, which will really anchor it in place. So like that, and there it is. So that'll become my air hole. I'll mold around it, and that'll become my air hole to shoot compressed air in, and hopefully that'll make it release very easily. And there are the 2 snorkels installed, ready for gel coat. So I finished the gel coat, and I put 2 heavy coats on, about as much as I could lay on there with a brush. And so that step is done. You can see the 2 snorkels in there for the compressed air passages. And I will say, when you do put on the first coat of gel coat, you do have to be kind of ginger around those snorkels. Just sort of drip the gel coat around. But once that first coat gels, they're in there solid. So you don't need to be careful of them after that. So the second coat went on, no problem. Nice and thick. The next step is to put fillets around all the sharp edges. Fiberglass doesn't like to bend around sharp edges, so you need to fill it in and smooth them out. So you can see I have mixed up a batch of polyester resin and some Cavasol and fill it in. It's basically mixed it into a thick paste, one that doesn't droop, and you just start plastering it on like putty. And then smooth it out so the fiberglass will lay down flat and you get good contact and a good solid mold. The fiberglass has now been laid up for the mold. Overall, I used 1 layer of 6-ounce fiberglass cloth and then 4 layers of 1.5-ounce fiberglass chopped mat. And you'll also see the black stripes underneath. That is this material right here. That's pipe insulation. It's just a foam. It's used for insulating pipes so they don't freeze. Simply cut it in half and lay it down in. I also round out the edges. See, when you cut them, they're square, but I do round them out so it's the fiberglass will lay a little better on it. Now on the first few layers there, the cloth, and then the first 3 layers of chopped mat laid down really nice, and I've got really good adhesion. On the 4th one, it got to the afternoon, the temperature went up, and there was maybe a little bit of heat underneath in the laminate. and it made that fourth layer kick really, really quickly. So that's why it doesn't look good. You can see areas like this that are not completely adhered, but it's strong enough. I know it looks bad, but it is strong. These ribs I put in adds a lot of structural strength to the overall mold. You can see also right here that this is one of my snorkels, and that was the little straw with the clay in the end. Now, one of the nice things about using a straw is the epoxy does not stick to it. So I simply got down in there, and the whole thing just came out real easily once I sort of chopped off the top here so I could get to the top of it. So that's ready to go. I've got another one over here. You can see the straw is still in that one. So let me show you how easily these little pieces of straw come out of the air snorkels. I just take a regular old drill. Now this one has actually got a broken off tip, so I can get down in here a little more easily. Just go down and just sort of bring it in, just sort of like drilling into it, and see how easily that comes out. Boom. So this is the moment of truth. I'm going to release the mold here. Got my safety glasses on, and I'm going to do this real time for you, and so you can see how, well, easy or difficult it's going to be. It's always a little more difficult than you think it's going to be. So here goes. All right, I'm going to start out with what's called a little percussive love. Just hitting it with a mallet to start breaking it loose. All right, I think that's enough love taps. Let's go ahead and see if I can pull that off. First, some work gloves, working fiberglass here after all. Put on my work gloves. Already got a little fiberglass in my skin. Here we go. Now there's a flange here that was temporary, and that makes a good handhold to pull it up. Let's see what happens. The mold came off. The key was getting that back flange off, so I was grabbing out of the fiberglass instead of that foam core flange that was taped down with duct tape. And I also had some foam core up here as well, so once I got into there, I could grab it from the front and start lifting it. It came out just fine. So this was the clay portion I put on the flange. And the purple film is the PVA. That's what it looks like. That's what it is, like a plastic film that protects your body from your mold. And I got a good mold. There's almost nothing I need to do this. I'm really happy with this. So very good result. It's nice and solid. And I did not damage any of the body work, and I actually didn't even damage, this portion of the body as well. So that worked out really well. The mold is now ready to go. I have trimmed around the edges and cleaned it up. The PVA is water soluble, so it comes off with just some scrubbing and some water. There was a little bit of the plastiline clay around where I had the flanges, but that's really all I need to do is just trimming and clean up, and I have a completed mold.